they lived in Brooklyn and then they moved out to California. I lived with them. We used to do
Nice.
Shabbat, you know, Passover, have some
Yeah, I
challah, by
still
the
make
way.
Shabbos here at home because when Aaron comes, he wants to have Shabbos, so we do the whole 9 yards with the challah and the kiddush and
And you're
all
off
of
your
that.
phone?
What?
I said, you're off your phone?
Honey, no way. I
I
do
love it.
Shabbos my way.
I love it.
Family, community, food,
It's the best.
and connectivity.
I love it. So you EP'd your show, right?
Yeah, I did.
That is brilliant.
Yeah,
And I feel like,
because it's our story, so we felt that we needed to be able to tell it. And I wanted my son to be able to be his authentic self and say what he really thought. And I wanted to show that there's all different kinds of Jews, and that,
uh,
as I said to Aaron, I think it was episode 2 maybe, it isn't about Judaism. It isn't about religion. There's millions of modern Orthodox Jews in the world who keep Shabbos and kosher, but they go to
right,
college. And women are treated the exact same way that men are. And they're
right.
fully functioning people in the outside world. Whereas in
Yeah.
my community, not so much. Not so much.
Yeah, it's interesting to see because I kind of know like a little bit of the politics as far as like what the women have to go through and how
Oh,
like
yeah.
intense and like kind of like sheltered they are. And I could see how it could be very detrimental. And in your case, it was. And, I'm proud of you just as like a mother to make a decision for yourself, but to make the right decision in a way where it doesn't like ruin a family is really courageous. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you,
And
Karen. What a lovely thing to say. Thank you.
yeah. How was it kind of like filming? We both have done shows. Did you ever get used to the cameras following you around? You're getting like a good insight and you're letting people in, and they're kind of
Right.
like butting into your life.
It's
So
true.
how was that transition?
Well, you'll tell me how you felt. I mean, for me, the funny thing is that, like, it didn't seem real. And
Mm,
so I forgot about them. You know what I'm saying? Like, because as you were, like, I was the executive producer as well. So basically, the week before, I would tell them, hey, this is what's happening in my week. This is what
yeah.
we're doing. And so then we would build the storyline across what was actually occurring. And so, being filmed, I just, I have Jeff Jenkins and Leonard Roloff, who are, I mean, Jeff, has Jeff Jenkins production company, which
Mm.
this man is my brother.
And that's who produced it?
He's who produced it. And
Cool.
then the producer who was like there every day as well was Leonard Roloff. He's an executive producer with me. And
Mm,
it was such a collaborative thing. Like they never tried to you know, fake something or to try and make us do something we were uncomfortable with, or, like be like, oh guys, can you pretend X or Y? It was not like that. There were no
right.
surprises. And we tried to make the show about unity and love and appreciation and
Mm,
really about what I'm doing now, because my past is such a complex story. It literally took me 1,740 pages to write about it.
oh my
Oh,
God.
I know. Don't worry. Don't worry. I have
Oh my
amazing
God.
editors. I'm being published by Crown Penguin Random House. The book is called Brazen.
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 Wow.
And we've gotten it down to like a little bit under 500 pages, so very readable. But it is a very complex story. How I left, what my life was like, all the stories. There was no way, and I didn't want the show to be about what was done to me. I
I
wanted
love,
to be the show about what I've accomplished,
I love
what my mission is. And Cameron, that we're at a very particular moment of time. You are the perfect example. You have built yourself into this massive brand, and people will be coming to you for guidance, advice, for hope and inspiration when you're 70. I know it's
Yeah.
hard at that age when you're this young to think of 70, but it's coming. It's
Oh no,
coming.
I'm already crunching down the time. I'm like, I turned 27 soon and I'm just like, oh man, I'm getting there. And for those
Dude,
of you people
27,
that,
I just turned 50 this year. I'm 50.
wow,
But I'm
that's,
also 8.
that's a brilliant age.
So I'm also 8 because I consider myself like only being in the 21st century for the last 8 years. So
Uh-huh.
I'm 50, but I'm also 8.
I love it. I love it. And for those of you that just joined on, Julia Hart is an amazing entrepreneur. She just dropped her show, My Unorthodox Life. It is on Netflix. It's one of the top shows. So I'm surprised we even got her on here. So thank
Oh,
you.
thank you, Karen. You're the
Just wanted to
best.
give the people that just joined like a little heads up. So when I was kind of like doing the editing process for like the show and going
Yeah.
back and
How was
watching
your
it, like,
experience? Tell me about your experience.
oh my God, it was a lot of work, but it was so much fun. You know, I went in, I pitched producers, you
See,
know,
you did it
got a production
yourself
company.
on your own.
Yeah,
You didn't ask permission. You didn't wait. You
right.
went for it.
Yeah, so then we did that. And then once we got like the teaser down, we started pitching like other, you know, places to put it on, or like platforms. Went to VHS, MTV, Netflix, all of those cool places, and no
Wow.
one wanted it. And I was like
Really?
persistent, and I was like, get me in the room with Netflix. Just get me in the room. They got me in the room. I pitched the whole thing, and I got my show on there.
And it's
But the
amazing. And
cool
you
thing,
traveled around the world and
yeah,
showed people. I mean, it's
I got to
so
showcase
cool.
my brand, which
Yeah.
to be on the most like popular and uprising platforms, which is Netflix. I was like, it just makes sense. And I feel like when I was doing the editing and giving back notes and being like, cut this out, put more of this in, did you learn anything about yourself? Like, did you see something and be like, wow, I saw how I handled that and maybe I can handle it a little bit better or different?
Hmm.
Or
What
what
a
was any
great
of that?
question. Wow, that's a really good question. I think that the first week, you know, I didn't know it was very frightening to like really be yourself,
Mm,
right? And to truly have no filter. You've seen it. I've got no filter.
uh-huh.
That's, um, and I think that I, I really genuinely wish that I had known how safe Netflix and Jeff Jenkins would make me feel because I would have done it much sooner. The truth matters,
Mm,
I've been in this world for 8 years. I've never told my story. It took me 8 years to have the courage to tell this story. And looking at it now and how lovely and collaborative and kind and just, it was such a beautiful experience because we all felt like we were on a mission. It wasn't about a show, it wasn't about um, just entertainment. It was utilizing storytelling as a way to help empower people.
right.
And I thought, like, why did I wait this long? Like, why was I so scared?
Well, and this is just me speaking from like an outsider's perspective because I do have some friends that come from, you know, a similar background where it's very orthodox. And, you know, I've had talks, it's a boy, and he's kind of like, you know, it's really hard when you have so much pressure, not
Yeah,
only within your family, your friends, their families, but and
everyone,
the
everyone
close,
you know, the only
oh,
people you
the
know.
whole community, because everyone's so
Yeah,
close, right? And he's like, I don't necessarily, you know, he's thinking for himself, he's his own person, right? And he wanted to explore more of that. And he's like, I think kind of what holds people back is the pressure of all of that and thinking like, what are they going to think of me? How is everyone going to react? How's my family going to react? Are they going to reject me? You know, how can I
yeah,
start to be more of myself, but still have that connection with the family?
exactly. And
Right?
then what makes it even more scary is that if you talk about what's wrong, or and again, it isn't, and I say this over and over again, and I'll just keep on saying it, it isn't about Judaism
Right.
because fundamentalism exists all over the world. And I have, in the last, 5 days, I guess since Friday when the press started coming out, I have received thousands of private DMs because, of course, they're too afraid to make it public from women all over the world saying, thank you for speaking up. We're too afraid to speak up ourselves. And, you know, that whole idea that, oh, if someone speaks out, people will say, oh, they're anti Semitic. That's just a way to silence people. And, like think about America, right? America is this incredible country. But you've seen in the last year, we've had protests, we've had change, we've had, an amazing new government, all of this. Does that mean that the people who protest or try to make the country better, they hate America? No. It isn't about hate at all. It's about trying to make the world a better place. It's about saying there is systemic problems, and with love and respect, those need to change.
Mm,
And if you try to humiliate and silence people who have suffered, who have been told that they are less than, that they have to be silent. If you threaten them and accuse them of anti-Semitism, then how will anything ever change? Change has to happen with love, kindness, appreciation, but we have to tell the truth. The fact that women aren't educated in my community, in my world, the fact that I literally felt like I was a 400-year time traveler. I was coming from the 1800s. In my world, women didn't live alone. They didn't have careers. They didn't go to college. When I was in Beis Yaakov, it was the high school that I went to, I remember it was a big deal because when I was in 12th grade, a girl who had graduated the year before tried to get her transcripts because she had left the community and was trying to go to college. And they locked the door. And we had like this whole school assembly about how evil college is and how women, their whole sole responsibility is to raise children and be married. What do they need college for? What do they need higher education for when they have to be mothers and wives? And that has to change. But not just in that world, in every community where there's fundamentalism, in every community where women are told we have to cover ourselves because men shouldn't sin. You're a guy, you manage to control yourself. Men can control themselves. My life shouldn't be this small, so a guy wouldn't have to look at my body or hear my voice or watch me dance or hear me sing. That's just wrong. And that doesn't mean that the people practicing it are bad. I love the people. There's no anger, there's love here. I just think that there's things in the world, in the whole global world, that need to change. And we have to speak lovingly and kindly and say, there's no blame, there's no anger. I don't think there's any bad people there. I don't think anyone is waking up in the morning saying, "Ooh, how can I harm women?" This is a systemic problem. This is about change that has to happen so women don't feel that they have to only be wives and mothers. So women like me who have so much inside of them, whether it's creativity or they want to be business people, or like my daughter, I've gotten messages which say you're an evil woman because you made your daughter lesbian. Guys, you're born lesbian. And it's beautiful and lovely, and God made her that way.
And it's her.
Sorry, I became like very passionate because you're a thinker, and you made me go all like deep in. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's entitled to their own decisions, and
exactly.
You follow the decision, and I think that's what the main thing is about. And everyone can have their own opinions, but at the end of the day, it's all about the individual and what they want and what their path leads to.
I love it. I couldn't have said it better. That's what it's about. If you're happy, great. But if you're not happy, you should have the right for an education. You shouldn't feel that you have to cover yourself up or not sing or dance. That's all.
So another thing, and playing off of, feeling like if you've learned about yourself or anything like that, were you impressed with anyone on the show when you were watching it being like, wow, I love like their personality even more after watching them on this show?
You have great questions. I love it. Aaron, I was really shocked by Aaron because originally I wasn't thinking of actually having him on the show. I didn't want him because he's so young, and I didn't know what people's reactions would be. I was just concerned. I asked him if it was something he had interested in, and he said, yeah, I'd love to do it. And so originally the plan was to have him on one episode, but he had so much fun doing it. And he was like, I want to be on more episodes. So I was just like, wow, sure. And he's so natural on camera. He's got these like one-liners, these zingers. He's amazing. I'm like totally in awe of him.
Yeah. I was really impressed. I think it's with your oldest daughter.
Batsheva.
Yeah. And her relationship with her husband, because she has a really good way at, setting boundaries with, her family's opinions, right? And not letting them.
She's amazing.
Really thinks.
She's amazing. Right? And that's. Say hi to mom for me.
I will after this. But like, it's really impressive to see her like set a boundary and stick to that and not let people come into her relationship with her husband. So
And he's such a good guy. He's such a sweetheart. They're the most loving couple. They're just adorable.
yeah. How was it starting up your own brand? Because that's a big thing in itself for anyone at any time in their life, right? So, I mean, for me to see your journey and you just, you started with shoes, for you to go into that, like there's so much that goes into clothing, manufacturers, finding the right fit, finding the right styles. Like, how was that for you?
I mean, my goodness, wow. I'm impressed. So that really is in the book because it's such a crazy story. One day I'll tell it to you sideline, but
Uh,
it's such a long story. It really is because, I knew nothing. I'd never seen an invoice. I don't know how anything worked in the outside world. So,
mm,
I was a massive learning experience. I made thousands of mistakes and a lot, I had incredible supporters, who I met in the first, year that I was out, that I met on like random places, airplanes, restaurants. I mean, I was 24/7. So no matter where I went, all I did was talk, talk, talk
uh-huh.
about my idea. And so I found investors in all sorts of different places. And then I went to Italy and literally taught myself how to make shoes. And
Wow.
it was, I think, because I knew so little about um, the fashion world, I didn't realize how incredibly difficult it would be. And I think that saved me because my ignorance helped me. Meaning, had I
Mm,
known that you need PR and marketing, and there's this whole fashion industry, and there's this fashion elite, and you have to first work for someone for 10 years. Like, there's a trajectory, right? Well, I didn't know about the trajectory. I didn't know about PR and marketing and press and all that stuff. So it made perfectly logical sense. If I can travel for 100 years, I can make a shoe brand. And then when I started making the shoe brand, originally the idea was just to make beautiful shoes that made you feel special. I wanted women to feel special.
right.
And then I started making
And
them,
comfortable.
and there you go. I made my first pair of shoes and they were beautiful, but they were so uncomfortable. And it hit me that I didn't want to sell something that made women uncomfortable.
Mm,
And I literally, I threw out all those shoes. I lost all that money and I said, no, I refuse to sell it. I need to first figure out a way to make shoes that are comfortable for women. And so I had to literally first learn how to make a shoe and then figure out how to make a shoe better. And so that was the beginning. And what I did in La Perla was very similar. The whole idea was we changed the way that stretch was put into material so that you could put threads into, like, the inner thread was made out of like an elastin filament. So instead of having to wrap lots of elastin around the thread, it was inside. And what that enabled us to do for the first time was we made stretch levers lace, which is the
mm.
most fine, elegant lace. And it was just as thin as regular lace, but it was stretchy. And I know you've never worn a thong, or I don't know, maybe you have, I don't want to assume. But let me tell you, for a woman, thongs were torturously uncomfortable. And with the stretch, it made it all the difference. And that was the idea, that a woman should not have to choose between beauty and comfort, that she shouldn't have to choose between luxury and feeling good, that this whole idea of suffering for beauty needs to really end. Like, it's 2021. Women are still making themselves uncomfortable to look pretty. No, no more.
Did you so when you first made Julia Hart as far as a shoe brand, you sold that company?
I sold the rights to the patents to La Perla when I took over.
Okay. Okay. How so you're necessarily your own boss at that point.
Always. Since the
And
day I've
then
walked out the door, I have been my own boss. When I was creative director of La Perla, yes, you're right. I did have a boss, a
I was gonna say,
CEO.
how was that transition? Because
We fought a lot.
uh,
I am not good at taking direction.
Okay. I feel that too. You know, I owned a company at a very young age, and kind of now that, you know, I'm a little older and I'm working with other companies, I'm very straightforward, you know, exactly like you. I say what I want, and I'm very passionate about how I feel. And
That's
I've run
freedom, isn't
into,
it? Not having to ask permission.
right, but it's a little different when you're working for a company and you kind of have to like try and tone that in, or like
Yep.
come up with a better way. But also, um, it helped me realize how to deal with things better, because I saw how I used to act when I was a young owner of a company and how I would handle things, versus now I'm older and a little bit more mature and I'm dealing with younger people that own companies, and I'm just like,
You're
okay,
advising them.
I'm like, okay, I don't want to be like that, and I'm going to try and help them go about things
Good.
like the right way.
But that's beautiful because that's taking your experience and using it to help others. And in the end, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
No matter how, we have to speak our truth, even if it's uncomfortable, even if people attack us. We've got to be honest and just stand up for what we believe is right.
Yeah. If you had kind of like in a perfect world, if you could, if you had to choose to stop what you're doing right now and go into a completely different like genre or industry, where do you think you would go?
Ooh, dancing. Can I be a dancer?
Are you good at dancing?
I love dancing. Let's just put it
Yeah,
that
I
way.
love it. I
I
love
love
it.
to dance. What would I do in another career? Ooh, that's a really good one. Well, in my old life, I was a teacher
Okay.
and I loved
For what
teaching.
grade?
I taught, well, when I first started, I taught fourth grade, and then I went to seventh and eighth. And then the last, I would say, 10 years that I was a teacher, I taught high school.
Oh, so you kind of went up.
Yeah.
Was that
But
on
I mean,
purpose?
yeah, I loved, I wanted as much, connectivity as I could. Although, by the way, because it was in my world, I was a 19-year-old teaching 18-year-olds.
Wow.
Literally, the women I was teaching were a year younger than me. The only difference is I was a married woman, so I had a sheitel on my head, right? I had the wig. So
Okay.
I was a Mrs. But I was about as equipped to teach as I am equipped to, I don't know, make a nuclear physics lab. But I was the teacher, right? And I taught, not only did I teach Hebrew subjects when I first started, but in the very first beginning, when I was literally a teenager, I was teaching American history and biology and all of these subjects, which again is ludicrous because I had zero education myself and, of course, no degree. And those were the kind of teachers we had, people like me. So then, as I got older, I realized that I should not be teaching these things, and I started teaching Judaic subjects, which I felt much more comfortable teaching.
Okay.
But that's what I started doing. So I guess
So,
maybe if I had to change another career, I'd go back to teaching. I would just teach
wow.
very different things.
That's interesting you went up, because I know everyone has like their preferences. I think if I were to be a teacher, I would love to teach like the younger kids.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I might want to go back and forth, just because I think as I get old, like they're different. They have like
yeah, it's very different.
different ways of being funny,
Yeah,
you
and it's
know?
nice because to me, teaching is like sales. In the end, you have an audience of people who are not interested in what you have to sell, right? And don't want to be there and are basically stuck. And you've got to make it exciting for them. And that to me, teaching really taught me a lot about how to explain things in a way that is palatable to people so that, to simplify very deep esoteric subjects. And that's, I think, really, really important in anything that we do.
100%.
Um, and I think that's what you do because you've had so many experiences. I know you've been through a lot. You speak very openly about, all the struggles you've been through. And look at you now. I mean, in Hebrew, there's this expression, she'elah tova chatzi tshuva, which means a good question is half an answer, meaning the questions are important, right? And your
Uh-huh.
questions show how mature and educated and really a fascinating person you are, Cameron. I'm really impressed.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm really impressed.
Thank you. Thank you. I love coming up with good questions, you know. I feel like both of us, we probably get the same questions constantly,
Yes, we
you
do.
know, and like we're very much people that think outside the box, and we like to test things, you know, why? We like
Yeah,
to ask why. And
I
that's
do. I love to ask why. And by the way, I love not knowing the answer.
yeah. Well,
That's the best thing because it means we have to create and invent and search and learn and grow. And that's what life is about. You
yeah.
know, you cannot stay static. It's okay. Change is okay. People are so threatened by change. They shouldn't be. I mean, you think about it, the Industrial Revolution, okay? More inventions have happened in the last 100 years that have happened in the last 1,000 years before that, right? From the 1800s till today, more things have been invented than in all the years prior. Why? Because science. Because science said we don't have all the answers. Let's ask the questions. And that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Because religion said all the answers are here. They're all in the Bible. You don't need to ask questions. All the answers are here. And science said, no, let's ask some questions. And that's why we're here, because we ask questions and we learn and we grow and we don't know. I love
Well,
not knowing.
and you're a big hustler,
Oh, I'm a
and you're a
hustler,
great
baby. I'm
entrepreneur,
hungry
and I
and
love it.
ambitious
And when you
and I
want
want,
something, you
oh
don't
yeah.
stop until you get it. And I think that's one of the more inspirational things is you went from teaching as a 19-year-old to owning one of the largest agencies in the world, and that is
Cameron,
brilliant,
now we've got to
brilliant,
help a
brilliant.
lot of people do it. Let's make an army of strong, independent women who don't need to ask permission, independent people who don't need to ask permission.
Yeah, yeah. I
Let's
mean, I'm
do it,
all for that, and I'm still on my journey as everyone is.
as we all are.
And yeah, and I appreciate you. And for those of you that haven't seen her new show, this is Julia Hart. She just came out with her top Netflix show, My Unorthodox Life. Thank you for this, by the way. I won't be drinking the champagne, but I'll eat the challah.
I love that.
And
That's very impressive.
and
Cameron, you are such an
for everyone.
extraordinary person. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really want to know more about you. This was you
I would love
asking
to
me
get dinner
questions. But next time we've got to do it where
when I'm in New
I
York.
ask you questions. Yes, come to New York. Come hang out. Thank you so
All right.
much. This
I'll
was
talk
so
to you
much
later.
fun. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Bye. Thank you.